Here is the CoolerMaster H500P desktop mid-tower case. Let's get this opened. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a black box with some accessories. Cable ties, a metal bracket, a Molex connector and a 2-pin connector. And the RGB controller. Great. Packaging. The manual. Now actually, I've looked at this manual online and it's a very detailed manual, very comprehensive. It's well worth reading. I know it's a manual and I know you might think it's boring, but it's worth it. Oh, check this out. We've got handles. Now this is what you call packing. It has its own handles to make it easy to get out of the cardboard box. Now that's great thinking. Saves you having to lift it upside down and inadvertently dropping it on its head and breaking your new case. And look, CoolerMaster's logo on the bag. That's really sweet. Here we have the CoolerMaster H500P mesh and it's a large mid-tower case. Now its dimensions are 544mm long by 242mm wide by 542mm high, and this model is glorious white, which will go nicely with the ASUS white GTX 1060 GPU that Solomon has, linked to that video at the top, and for the RAM, the T-Force Nighthawk RGB 16GB, which are RAM, link at the top. Now this feels really sturdy and it's got a tempered glass panel on the side, and on the back it is a steel panel. But now there is the H500M, which is version 3 of this model, and that has tempered glass on both sides of the case. The only downside to this tinted glass panel is the locking mechanism. You have to use a coin or a screwdriver to unlock it. I wish they'd used something like a boat latch, where you have a recessed handle, something like what's in the image. That would be classier and better for the fingers. Just lift up and turn. And they still have kept this locking mechanism in version 3. It looks solid and it feels solid, and you've probably heard the non-mesh version had a few problems with the front panel and the top panel. Well, CoolerMaster did listen and have rectified those problems. The top and front panels are now well and truly fixed to the frame and can only come off by undoing a screw at the back or pushing a lever at the front. It's been reinforced with a very firm top clip. You really have to press down and pull away. You can confidently pick up this case holding the front and the back and nothing will fall off. Well done CoolerMaster for listening. The key feature to the new H500P is the front mesh panel for better airflow with a filter built into it. Before, it had an acrylic clear plastic front with no vent hose, only on the side for airflow, and that did restrict airflow. This, however, is so much nicer and even more practical. That's the problem with cases. Do you have a beautiful front which restricts airflow, or have something like this which tries to maximize airflow and present at the same time a nice frontage on the front and on the side, but also giving you maximizing airflow qualities? I like this. I go for the latter, and it still has the side air vents. Oh, and if you do have version 1 with a clear plastic front cover, then you can replace that with a mesh cover for about $20 US, but not the top cover. Apart from the improvements on the front and top cover, the two cases are practically the same. It comes with a CoolerMaster 2-year parts and labour warranty. For a case, that's interesting. It may come in handy here in Taiwan, as we have earthquakes often, and if this got shook and it toppled over and cracked, yeah, I'd definitely use it. On the tempered side glass, you can see the screw to remove the glass. No thumb screws on any corners of this, just that screw. Think about it, the screw though should be black. But this is great. Place a coin on the screw push up, close, hold, turn, undo. Just turn the screw 90 degrees to the left and pull the panel. It comes forward and stops. Yes, this panel rests on a ridge which stops the glass from falling onto the desk. How many times have we seen thumb screws get taken off and whoopsie daisy, the glass panel slips to the floor? Just pull, take away and put down somewhere safely. Look at that, a ton of space at your creative disposal. At the bottom there is the PSU shroud or cover, which is in two parts, and this is held on by a total of 9 screws. The left shroud covers the PSU and the right shroud covers two 2.5-inch SSDs or two 3.5-inch hard drive bays, and you can remove this or actually move it to one side from the front panel if you want to add a 360mm AIO radiator. Now if that's too big or pricey, you can also add a 120mm, a 140mm, a 240mm or a 280mm AIO instead. You can add the AIO against the pre-installed fans, which we'll come to later, or take them off and have the AIO rest against the mesh. The two covers on top of the PSU shroud are for two SSDs, and you can mount them on top or you can mount them underneath. And they're held on by 2 thumb screws, which can't be said for the 7 expansion slots, which are held on by ordinary screws. And there's another 2 expansion slots on the side if you wish to have a GPU to stand up vertically, but with this case you do not get a riser card. You have to purchase that separately. Here we have a 140mm by 25mm exhaust fan which spins up to 1200 RPM, but there are no fans at the top. I'll show you more on that later. It's a really good design, but something is sadly lacking. On the inside back cover we have the motherboard CPU back plate, which is nice. 2 cutouts on the inside to help with cabling, 3 large rubber grommets and 2 pre-installed standoffs, which I think is a bit of a bummer because it would have been nice if they actually added all 9 standoffs, but only adding 2, it leaves you to do the rest of the job. Now this case will support Mini ITX, Micro ATX, ATX and eATX, support up to 12 inches by 10.7 inches. But do be aware, where the rubber grommets are, if you're going to add an eATX board, that board will cover up 1/2 of these rubber grommets, making cabling a little tight, especially when adding the 24-pin power connector. And here to the right is the cable cover, which I can show you when I turn this thing around. At the back we can see a very neat and tidy design. Importantly, at the very top, this thumb screw, which keeps the top panel down and secure, where in version 1 of this case that wasn't there, and if you just touched it with your finger the top panel would just come off. Here you can see the exhaust fan, the 2 vertical mounted GPU slots and the 7 expansion slots. Here we have the placement for the motherboard I/O shield. Now if you have a motherboard with a cover over the I/O, such as the Asus Maximus or ROG Rampage 6 Extreme or an MSI X99 X Power Gaming Titanium, this will not give you any problems installing with the exhaust fan at the side. That's great news. At the bottom we have a PSU bay with a shield attached by 4 thumb screws. Now this is really neat because by detaching this shield you don't have to take the shroud away. By taking this off you can then push in your PSU with all the cables attached and then add this shield on. This also comes with a dust cover. You pull out and push in. It's not magnetic, but it's a really nice feature to have. Onto the top, and here you see the top panel. First it's nice, but then you quickly scratch your head and think, where's the dust cover? Where's the mesh? That's right, it's not there. They didn't change this from the original. You still get the plastic cover with no air vents on the top, only on the side. So in reality, whatever air you are pushing up will be redirected back into the case. It's a bit pointless, and sadly in version 3 they still haven't fixed this problem. They have replaced the top plastic cover with a glass tinted flat panel top cover. Design over functionality, I don't like that, and that's all I can think is lazy. Let's take this top cover off. First, you unscrew the thumb screw. which is a vast improvement over version 1. Once you've taken that out, you have to pull this slightly forwards or backwards depending where you're standing, and then up. So pull and then up, and it comes off. And what do we see? Nothing! A ton of space, which is really, really great. So it's very minimalistic bracketing and a load of space, and this is very neat. Long mounting points for a wide range of radiators and fans, and you can add 3 120mm or 140mm fans or 2 200mm fans. A side note, if you're adding 200mm fans onto this, the height of the fan should not exceed 25mm. They will not take anything like the Noctua 200mm by 30mm at all. I looked on sites and they quote the fan size, but they don't quote the width size of the frame. I only found this out when watching Bitwit, when he tried to add the Noctua fans to his H500P. The top would not close, and to add more stress to that, the mounting holes on the Noctua didn't even match the holes on the top of the case. I'll add the link to the Bitwit's video in the description below. Now we're on the front, and here you can see 4 USB connectors, 2 3.0 connectors and 2 2.0 connectors. We have a headphone jack, we have a microphone jack, and a huge power button in the shape of CoolerMaster's logo. We have a very small reset button, which I like, and a nice neat LED light showing you power going towards your hard disks or your SSDs. Now on this system, to control the RGBs is a small control unit which fits inside the case, but on version 3 of this unit they've now integrated that control unit into the front panel. Why can't they just do everything in one go? Now I'll show you how to take the I/O off. You just push down and pull away, and there we have it. And here they are, the 2 beautiful 200mm fans. And look what you don't see, stickers on the front. How many times have we seen beautiful fans which seem to be wobbling because they placed the stickers not centrally? I think that's a really nice touch, not putting any stickers on the fans. You can remove the 2 200mm fans and replace them with 120mm and 140mm fans, adding them onto these rail mounts. But really, why would you? You've bought this case to get those 2 200mm fans in the flesh, and they do look lovely. You can add a radiator behind the fans and force airflow into the radiator and have a push-pull configuration. Have the 200mm fans push air into the radiator and the fans on the radiator pulling air through. Let's turn this thing around and look at the other side. Now to take the side panel off, all we have to do is take these 2 thumb screws off and then pull the side panel off. Now it would have been lovely if this side panel was just like the side panel on the other side, glass, but it's not. But that's okay, I still think it looks very, very beautiful. Again, in version 3, this side panel now is glass. Here we have the protective CPU shroud, and I love this. Too many times you will buy a case and the back plate of the CPU is exposed, and that thing gets hot. And if by accident a cable touches that back plate, it can melt and expose wires, and you could have a real trouble on your hands. Here, this is a nice touch, we have 2 more SSD mounts. So if you don't want SSDs on the front, or you have 2 extra ones, you can place them on the back. And here we have lots of space for untidy, unsightly, ugly cables from your PSU. And here is the back plate for some fantastic cable management. Let's open this up. We open it by undoing 2 screws here. 1, 2. It just pulls off and is on hinges. And if you've got lots of cables like here, it really makes it nice and neat and tidy. Here you have all the cables from the front panel and the big 200mm fans. Now these are strapped here at the moment, but once you start adding all the cables, this panel comes into its own by keeping everything pushed in nice and tight, and then everything is out of sight, out of mind. Now on my system I have the Asus Sabertooth R2FX 990 AMD motherboard, and I have the CoolerMaster CM692 Plus case, which I've had since I built the system, which was 6 years ago. It's been incredibly sturdy, durable, and it's taken a lot of knocks. But the one thing it has always struggled with was cable management on this side of the case. the clearance is very, very small on the side panel. I have to really press in the side panel to lock everything down. Now the case has been discontinued, but I really do like the case. But this, with a ton of Z space, it really is a no-brainer, and it's going to make life a lot easier when you put it on this panel. Well, that's about it. Here are a few shots of the empty case. You will see a full system build very soon. We're both excited. So far, so good. I like the case, I'm proud of it, and my son can't wait to get using it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Love this video, pulverise the subscribe button, smash the like button, and comment like Shakespeare. If you didn't, like anyway please. Just click the like. Add any comments, but remember to share with family and friends, and again, remember to subscribe by smashing that red subscribe button below. Questions and comments are very welcomed. As always, it was fun doing this video, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then. Bye bye.